So there was a huge tree there that came down. Gecko eggs inside, a big enough hole for a great hornbill to nest in. An entire ecosystem that came down. I mean, the amount of animals that would have perished in even a small fire like this is huge, you know. Like many frogs, any animal that's adapted to the monsoon that burrows underground to get through the dry period, Sicilians, small lizards, skinks, insects, birds, any birds that were nesting in any one of the trees. In a minute here we'll see if they're still there. There's some eggs from jungle fowl that basically got boiled in fire.
Yeah, there has been something different this year compared to the past years. Past years we've not had fires on this scale in different sanctuaries and also in areas outside the wildlife sanctuaries. The Minister of Forests is also known to be antagonistic to the wildlife sanctuary. He and his father, as a matter of fact, had made statements during the 2012 elections that they would get the sanctuary notified. Then after that, the forest minister himself filed a writ petition in the High Court, which is pending adjudication. So when you look at all those factors, it appears that that sanctuary is under severe human threat. It's also the sanctuary that's been recommended for the tiger reserve. So people are worried that if it's a tiger reserve, then they will not be able to do anything.
Never in my life have I ever seen a flying, flaming tree before. And as I was clearing one fire, maybe 20 meters to one side, from perhaps 200, 300 meters up, one 25-30 meter evergreen tree came down on fire. Huge plumes of dust and smoke. And then of course, because it was on fire and it landed in tinder, that then created an entire other inferno. Now, we're lucky that there was no one under there, because underneath that are cashew plantations that are now currently being worked. That means kids are going there with their parents, kids are playing around in that area. It's not an area where there's no people at the bottom of that mountain.
So, this year's events, whether I don't say that they have been instigated by the forest minister, but it's very clear that people sometimes think that since the forest minister is against it, if we do something, nothing will happen to us. So there may have been some efforts. The government is clearly saying that there is a human hand in all this. They are saying that from the pattern of the fires, it's been established that there is, because these fires took place not only in Made but also in Mole, which is a very old, and Mole has been a very peaceful sanctuary now for so many years. Nobody has disturbed it. They were even trying to put a road this year, a pakka highway from Claude right up to Dudhsagar waterfall. So we stopped them. We got a complete stay on that nonsense from the High Court.
Whereas statistics may tell you that Goa is 50% forest or 60% forest or whatever it is, the reality is a vast majority of that forest is degraded or is a plantation or is not in its primary state. There is a very small amount of truly healthy, biodiverse and primary forest or other ecosystems remaining in Goa and in the whole Western Ghats. We're talking about a fragmentation rate that is immense. We're talking about, I think now, less than 12% of the Western Ghats that are intact. And this 12% is not one large section. This is lots of small pieces. So, yeah, that makes things more difficult.
The tendency is there to keep on pushing into these areas and people perceiving that the trees are a problem, get rid of the trees. The wildlife is a problem, get rid of the wildlife. So they are not able to resolve these conflicts because the government itself is not paying sufficient attention to these problems. They are all the time only interested in giving statements on TV and opening these exhibitions. But real endemic problems that this Goa is facing, which is basically related to its vegetation, its wildlife, it's the turtles that come in, all these issues, they don't want to look at them in a serious manner to see how they can come up with durable solutions.
We are in the beginning of a very dangerous spiral here, where we will see a shortage of water, a shortage of biodiversity, a shortage of biomass, more extreme weather, whether it's more wet or more dry. This is all going to start ramping up in the next few years.
These are all structural problems which are there as part of the department, but still doesn't mean that the government should not find a way out of these problems rather than continuing to allow them to simmer and burn and smolder in a very literal sense for who knows how many years.
The firefighters are brilliant at their job. The foresters are brilliant at their job. When they're doing it, they are really admirable. But you can't fight a fire like this with some wet leaves or with some blowers. You can't even fight a fire like this with a couple of helicopters. And that's the direction we're going.
Based on this incidents, they have to come out with a very good strategy for ensuring that they have proper firefighting equipment. They can access these areas because many of these areas are inaccessible. But it's been a lesson for them. If they are serious, they will be ready for the next fire next year. But I do not know. I have no confidence that this government is capable of doing anything.
So these forests are a sponge for Goa. The reason why Goa has plentiful and prosperous water is because we have these amazing forests inland, and they allow all of that rain that comes in a short period of time to be soaked up and then slowly released. So that process already no longer will happen as strongly as it used to, because many of these trees have died and the ecosystem has reduced in quality. The evergreen canopy has become patchy.
It will come back. There is no way within 5 to 6 years the forest will come back. They have to only protect it and see, because within a few months, in the month of June itself, they will be able to see whether the new shoots are coming, whether the plants are coppicing in a natural way, and wherever it's been affected, then it will restore. But it has to be given some time to restore and protect it. Next year there shouldn't be another fire in the same place, because then they may not survive. But our experience of forests is that they will naturally regenerate if we are given the opportunity.